I didn't see it this year. I just was listening last night. I was telling you on my way to Mount Sinai. Interesting enough, Rabbi Fisher had to go to Mount Sinai this week. Right, Moshe Rabbeinu in Mount Sinai. Just like anyway, so I was going there.
That's got to be.
Yeah, so
That's like the joke of the.
Yeah, joke of the week.
The day.
So, anyways, I was listening to a previous year's shir, and it said as follows: that it's on the Shem Shmuel. I didn't see that this year in the Shem Shmuel. No. So he says that Rashi tells us that Yisro had 7 names. His name was Shiv Shem Nikolai Ruel Yeser Yisro Chayav Chever Keni Putiel. So
that was Moshe's father-in-law, right?
Yeah. So so I think I believe the Gemara in Seder says he has that Moshe Rabbeinu has 7 names. Yeshua mentioned that the Medrash definitely says Moshe Rabbeinu had 10 names, but Linyan Nenu, we're going to talk about Moshe Rabbeinu having 7 names, because even if he has 7 names, even if he had 10 names, right, 10 is going to be 7 and 3. Whenever you have 10, the compilation is 7 and 3, because you have 7 you may have binyan, right? You have the 7 spheres at Tachtonis, and you always have the 3 spheres on top of it, Chachma, Bin, and Das, right? That's the way the world is broken up into 10s, and 10 is always 3 and 7, right? There's a 7 you may have Maisa, and then there's the 3 moichin, right? The mind behind the Maisa. So he makes the following ha'ara. He says, interestingly enough, you have Moshe and Yisro. The mom is Zelu Mazeh. Moshe Rabbeinu has 7 names. Yisro has 7 names. What is a name? A name means that you encompass a certain midah. When you talk about the 7, you talk about the 7 midas. Right? Chesed, Gvurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Yisod, Malchus. These are the midas that have to be perfected. Right? This is Avodas Hashem uses all these midas, and Moshe, he is the representation of Shleimus and Midas, right? In Mitzad HaKedusha. And Yisro, who was Kain Midjan, he was the opposite. He was in Gadzin. Yeah. Maybe we'll get that a little bit. But Yisro, he was L'umas Moshe, Zelumazeh. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Shleimus of Midas Tavis, we'll call it. And we say Midas Tavis, they don't per se mean good character trait, but also mean good character traits, but mean the Midas of Kedusha, right? His whole meaning when you talk about midas kedusha, everything that you do involves your midas, your character, the different kaichas that you have. And Moshe Rabbeinu, all his kaichas went into being mar b'kedusha. And Yisro, he was the ultimate opposite of Moshe Rabbeinu. So Yisro and Moshe Mamash Zelu Mazeh, they both have 7 names. Moshe encompasses all the pursuit of kedusha. And Yisro, on the other hand, encompasses all the pursuit of Tumah, right? Of Kach Tumah, and he was that state of Yisro. There was no Avodah Zarah in the world that he didn't connect to, because he literally he was a klalistic person, and Moshe Rabbeinu was a klalistic person. Moshe is klalis in kedusha, and Yisro is klalis in Tumah, and that's the type that each one has Zayin Shemes. So he says understanding that Yisro now comes, right, and he comes to be Megayer, and becomes a Yid. So what happens when Yisro becomes a Yid? All his kaiches now get flipped, right? From he's a klalistic person. He encompasses all these midas. He's literally like Moshe Rabbeinu. Like when I say klalis, like we say Moshe Rabbeinu he's like his neshama is called all nishmas Yisrael. Every yid that has a connection. We mentioned this many times. Any yid that has a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Torah, ultimately it's sort of through Moshe Rabbeinu being the conduit, being a chelik of Moshe neshama. And Moshe Rabbeinu is zeicha to all the ksarim of Nasav and Nishma of Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu really incorporated all of Klal Yisrael's neshamas. And Yisro is a klalistic person in the Olam HaTumah. When Yisro comes now, he becomes a ger. What's happening now? He remains klalistic, but he manages to take his unique incorporation of all these midas and flip these midas from Tumah to Kedusha. Okay, that's Yisro's gerus. It's not that he's a person. Let's say Menastam ger. We'll say it's probably not this way, but you would understand Menastam ger is something that has nothing, right? He's carved. He's more behemoth-like, and he comes as a yid. He's reborn, right? Gershon is guy dummy, right? It's just he goes from nothing, right? From ayin to yesh, he goes from nothing to something. Mashenkin Yisro, who was such a powerful, such an all-encompassing being, he didn't break himself down to zero and start from scratch. No, he was able to be mahapach all his midas and his kolias and his incorporation of all these midas and flip it to kedusha. Zakta Shem Shmuel. With this in mind, we can the Avnei Nezer was Miyashiv Akasha. It says Yisrael is always referred to as Chaysin Moshe. Is Moshe Rabbeinu's shver. How's Yisrael Moshe Rabbeinu's shver? L'chayra Yisrael is Megayer, right? Gershon is guy He has no korban. Zipporah is not his daughter. Moshe Rabbeinu de facto is not a son-in-law anymore. He's not Moshe Rabbeinu's shver. So he says, yeah, when your gerus is that you go like a typical gerus, right? Then you could cut in Shnei Ladami. Yisrael took all his kaiches and he flipped it to kedusha. He wasn't cutting his Gayer Dami. He was Yisrael with all his Zayin Shemus that managed to flip around to kedusha. But this could be maybe Miyashiv. I see he has a kasha over there. Shemesh will ask the following question. He says that Yisrael had 7 names, and his name was Yeser. Yisrael, you're Yeser. Al Shem Yeser Parsha Achas B'Torah. He says L'Chayra. He says his name is Yisrael even before, right? Even before he was Megayer, right? So what's the pshat? Yeser Parsha Achas B'Torah, right? How does he have that name beforehand? Right? But the answer, with this in mind, that the pshat could be, is that Hayais Yisrael, his mitzias was a klalistic person, right? So his kayach of adding a parsha to the Torah. Who is Yisrael to come and add a parsha to the Torah? What's his kayach? Right? Every guy walks off the street, he starts saying chedushim and becomes a parsha of the Torah. The Torah says Hayais Yisrael in his makeup was a klalistic person equivalent to Moshe Rabbeinu. See, even in his Gaisha form, he had this klalistic kayach of a Moshe Rabbeinu. Granted, it was pinpointed in the wrong direction. Melus ended up being close in the kayach tatuma. But the part is his ability to add another parsha of Torah is because even as a guy, he was this klalistic person. So when he's called Yisrael, even before he was Megayer and he actually was Moshe Parsha Torah, it means it teaches him up that he has this mile of a regular person, that he's a klalistic person. He's like, at least Yisrael would be sort of he's like a Superman type of person. Mela, what he does has true bearings on reality. And Mela, when he becomes a yid and he says Torah, now it's taka becomes like Safa and Torah.
They say the game already having
that's what I said. That's why I said before about pashtus of this, right? But the right, that I was alluding to that. That the gerim are nitzitzis, and they're the crown jewels, and they're right. There's more to ger than just a person that goes from ayin to yesh. But in as much as the Shemesh Shmuel says this vart that Yisrael had something very specific that was flipped around, so every other ger is more of his chachas. Right, he sort of he has to. It's probably much more it's much more hidden that kedusha, that kayach, and when it becomes a ger, it's sort of like it's being given an ability to sort of expand itself, not that it's there b'kayach, but Yisrael is there b'kayach, it was just flipped around. The Shemesh Shmuel Tushtal says he says the bechin of Yisrael becoming a ger is the bechin of every yid on Shabbos Kodesh. He says a yid the whole week is mole all sorts of midas and all sorts of kedusha, right? But it's not necessarily being directed right in the right direction. It comes Shabbos Kodesh comes and it just uplifts the entire avodah of the week. Right? All the midas of the week, a person on Shabbos just gets flipped around like Yisro, his Zayin midas of klipa got flipped around to kedusha. A yid Shabbos Kodesh, it's the same bechina, right? That
means what?
Same concept, the same process concept, yeah, right. The same process, same concept that Shabbos Kodesh takes yet it takes all the avodah of the week, right, which is it's going someplace and it's accomplishing and it's making some sort of connection to the Welt, but it may not be exactly in kedusha per se. Shabbos Kodesh has the ability of taking all your avodah of the week and be mekadosh it and all the koiches he put into week take on a totally new meaning when it comes Shabbos Kodesh. Let's just, you want to put that on pause? We'll do a little bit of L'chaim.
Nobody's watching it anyway.
Can you please put on pause? Someone may watch it.